With so many legendary gaming franchises and long-running series to cover, there are always a few important titles that inevitably slip through the cracks. Today, I'd like to correct one of my channel's most glaring, and to be honest, offensive omissions. Released in 2003, Barbie Horse Adventures arrived as a trio of multi-platform titles following Barbie as she explores the countryside on horseback, helps the people around her, and works to rescue a number of missing horses across the region. The series would later be revisited with another release in 2008 before a truly staggering act of corporate cowardice brought it to an unceremonious end late last year. But we'll get to that later. Now, while we may not be dealing with parallel timelines, fractured realities, or an ancient war between godlike beings, the game does have a premise. Events do occur, and Barbie is, in fact, extremely busy throughout all of it. Also, most importantly, there's horses. So today, I, Suggestive Gaming, figured it would be a great time to finally ride back through the story of gaming's most important toy-based horse adventure franchise. Now, without further ado, this is what you need to know about Barbie Horse Adventures. Our story begins with Barbie, scuba diver, gymnast, Starfleet engineer, UNICEF ambassador, and now equestrian. Riding into town on her favorite horse for the big race, Barbie is forced to begin her adventure by proving her worth. As the race is about to begin, disaster strikes the local flower arrangement economy, as the violets that had been placed outside the castle for decoration have blown away. Barbie is then forced to find all 10 flowers that have scattered throughout Primrose Hill Village, before placing them back in their vases by the castle. Even this early on in her voyage, Barbie shows her aptitude by being sure to search the park near the shops in town to ensure the charity cup proceeds as planned, making it clear that she isn't just riding for fun, she's riding for the world. As a nightmarish tune haunts her, Barbie presses through the mental anguish with her loyal steed to meet Christy, who gives her thanks with a sweet minigame, marking the beginning of Barbie's growing network of support and friendship. With the village set right, Barbie heads into Primrose Hill Farm. Here, her focus shifts from cleanup to navigation, as Barbie speeds through a course marked by blue flags on the farmyard. Though she's forced to face the harsh wildlife roaming the course, she predictably completes it with ease, finally earning her entrance into the Charity Cup. Barbie proceeds to enter the first major 3-lap race, taking her back to Primrose Hill, just with much larger stakes. Parts of the course require Barbie to courageously dismount and lead her horse along fenced areas, while balloons and buttercups placed throughout the track offer her bonuses if she dares to venture off the path. After Barbie obviously takes first, or second I guess, place, Teresa rewards her with another sweet minigame. Barbie's next race forces her to ride to Buttercup Mountain, but the journey pushes her further than she could ever imagine. Forced to brave tough terrain, avoiding falling rocks near the cliffs, Barbie's horse fights their own battle with their mortal enemy, flies. Luckily, Barbie is able to collect repellent to stave them off, strengthening the bond between herself and her horse. From there, Barbie enters the Pine Valley Race, where the competition begins to grow more demanding. The course is harder than the one before it, forcing her to contend with more flags, more jumps, more animals, and even rolling hay bales that threaten to throw her off course. Still, Barbie remains undeterred, collecting balloons where she can, and once again proving that no obstacle, whether natural or man-made, can stand for long against a woman on a horseback with a charitable cause. After yet another strong finish, Kira welcomes Barbie's success with yet another sweet minigame, as her legend continues to spread across the countryside. With Pine Valley behind her, Barbie rides onward into the national park. Here, the path ahead is less about outright speed and more about care and control, as the trail carries her over streams, past waterfalls, and across a series of narrow bridges. Many of these crossings force Barbie to dismount and lead her horse by hand, showing that true horsemanship is not simply about racing ahead, but knowing when to slow down, take hold of the reins, and guide your companion safely through danger. This leads into the National Park race, the final event standing between Barbie and the Cup itself. By this point, she has already brought order back to the village, mastered the farm, conquered the mountain, and proven herself in Pine Valley, so the national park serves as one last trial before the finale. Once again, Barbie charges through the course in pursuit of victory, uncovering shortcuts and pushing ever closer towards the championship. And after finishing in first, or again, if we're being extremely generous, I guess second, she's rewarded by Ken with yet another super
flipping
sweet minigame, capping off the support she's earned from every corner of this world. At last, everything leads back to Primrose Hill for the final race. Beginning in the stables and carrying Barbie through the village and surrounding farms, the final event asks her to draw upon everything she's learned along the way. The flowers, the flags, the jumps, the cliffs, the flies, the bridges, the hay bales, all of it has been simply building to this very moment. Horseshoes scattered across the course offer her bursts of speed, but in truth, Barbie no longer needs them. She's already become something greater than speed. Greater than competition. Greater, perhaps, than the race itself. And so, with one final ride through Primrose Hill, Barbie claims victory in the Charity Cup, secures the grand prize for the horse charity, and earns the winner's cup for herself. The countryside is safe, the horses are honored, and Barbie, having once again answered the call of destiny, rides on to whatever challenge awaits her next. Sometime later, we find Barbie once again answering the call when others cannot. As Teresa prepares to compete in the championship horse show at Whispering Springs Ranch, disaster strikes just hours before the event. Lucky, Teresa's horse, has vanished from her stall. The gate to the forest trail has been left open, and foul play is immediately suspected. With the competition fast approaching and the possibility of sabotage hanging over the ranch, Barbie does what Barbie alone can do. She takes to the trails to recover the horse, uncover the truth, and preserve the integrity of organized equestrian sport. Before setting out, Teresa equips Barbie with the tools she'll need for her investigation: a two-way radio, a slingshot, a handheld metal detector, and a map of the Whispering Springs area. After selecting her horse, preparing at the ranch, and brushing up on the core disciplines of jumping, slingshot use, and herding, Barbie finally rides out into the wilderness in search of Lucky. It quickly becomes clear that she's no longer simply a rider. Barbie is now a mounted one-woman investigative unit operating just outside the boundaries of the law. Barbie's search first leads her into the forest, where the evidence begins to mount almost immediately. Near a still-smoking campfire, she finds hoofprints and, with the help of her metal detector, uncovers a horseshoe marked with a four-leaf clover. Teresa confirms that the shoe belongs to Lucky, proving that the missing horse was indeed taken this way. From there, Barbie follows the trail deeper into the woods, helping a boy round up his escaped baby goats in exchange for a torn piece of paper. Once reassembled, the scrap is revealed to be an invitation to the horse show, confirming that whoever took Lucky is directly tied to the competition itself. Barbie then presses onward to an old flour mill, lowering its bridge with her slingshot and uncovering yet another clue hidden beneath sacks of flour: a hat with a colored band, left behind by the culprit. From the forest, Barbie rides into Prairie Town, where she begins interviewing the local population. At the flower shop, Barbie helps prepare the winner's bouquet and learns that a beautiful black horse missing a horseshoe had recently been fitted with a new one, custom made with little clovers to match the others. This confirms that Lucky passed through town, and that whoever took her had been trying to keep the horse moving while maintaining appearances. At the antique store, Barbie discovers that someone traded a beautiful watch for a new set of reins, and after solving the puzzle to open it, she finds initials engraved inside. Then at the general store, after rescuing lost chicks and sorting supplies, she learns that a suspicious rider left behind a scarf. Barbie's pursuit eventually carries her beyond Prairie Town and into the desert gardens and caves, where the investigation enters its final stage. After helping repair a broken bridge across the river, Barbie follows more of Lucky's hoofprints into the caves themselves. there, using the metal detector once again, she uncovers a scarf clip with a strand of hair still attached, tying this clue directly to the scarf left behind earlier. Continuing through the canyon, Barbie stops at a feeding post, acquires a key with the slingshot, and enters the train office, where she finally hears Lucky nearby. After solving the surprisingly complex codebreaker puzzle and unlocking the box inside, Barbie succeeds where everyone else had failed. She finds Lucky safe and unharmed, ready to be returned to the ranch. The mystery of Lucky's whereabouts is finally over, but the mystery of who took her still remains. With Lucky safely recovered, Barbie returns to Whispering Springs, where Teresa has assembled the final pieces of the case. Using the clue Barbie gathered along the trail, the scarf, the hat, the initials from the watch, and the culprit's hair color, the two narrow down the field of suspects from the horse show's official entries. In the end, the truth is revealed. One of the competing owners had Lucky taken in the hope that removing Teresa's horse from the competition would improve their own chances of winning. In a staggering act of horse-related corruption, they attempted to undermine the championship through outright theft and horse snapping. However, thanks to Barbie's intervention, the scheme collapses, the culprit is exposed, and Lucky is returned just in time for the show. With the mystery solved and the dignity of the competition restored, Teresa goes on to win first place. In recognition of Barbie's efforts, she presents her with a surprise gift: a young foal to keep at the ranch. So, after dismantling an equestrian conspiracy, recovering a stolen horse, solving a multi-region criminal investigation, and effectively serving as Whispering Springs' entire mounted detective bureau, Barbie is rewarded not with rest, but with additional horse responsibility. The winner's area is decorated, the culprit is uncovered, Lucky is safe, and the horse show can finally proceed as intended. Order has been restored to Whispering Springs. That is, until Barbie is inevitably called upon once again. Sometime later, Barbie and her friends arrive at Silver Valley Riding School for what should be a peaceful weekend of horseback riding. The owner of the school, Mrs. Hepburn, welcomes Barbie, Teresa, and Christy to the stables, but notes that the horses seem restless, sensing that a storm is on the way. Sure enough, as night falls, the wind tears through the valley, blowing the corral gate open. The horses scatter into the surrounding wilderness, and by morning, Barbie is immediately forced into action. With Teresa and Christy searching the riding school grounds, Barbie volunteers to head out into Silver Valley itself, making her the only thing standing between this region and complete horse-related collapse. After selecting her outfit, choosing her horse, and getting fully prepared for the road ahead, Barbie sets out into the forest trails to begin the rescue effort. Here, she quickly learns that this is no simple roundup. Lost foals have to be calmed, fed, and guided back to safety, while the missing adult horses themselves must be pursued and lassoed before they can be returned home. Barbie's first trek through the forest serves as yet another proving ground, forcing her to navigate muddy paths, narrow cliffs, broken bridges, and local wildlife that seem deeply committed to obstructing the rescue effort. Along the way, Barbie gathers keys to unlock new sections of the trail, feeds apples to skunks to keep them from threatening nearby foals, and carefully leads frightened young horses back toward the checkpoints, where Teresa or Christy can then retrieve them. Even this early on, it becomes clear that Barbie is not simply recovering lost animals, she's restoring order to the entire countryside. As the search continues, Barbie pushes deeper into the woods, where the trails become increasingly more demanding. Foals are stranded in barns, trapped behind rolling logs, and hidden along raised platforms and cliffside paths, forcing Barbie to balance speed and precision all at once. Bears roam parts of the forest, muddy mazes slow her progress, and more than once, she's forced to dismount and proceed on foot in order to reach those who cannot escape on their own. Sacrifices are made, but Barbie presses on, eventually tracking down one of the missing adult horses and bringing it under control with her lasso, proving that Silver Valley's recovery is not only possible, but already underway thanks to Barbie. Of course, no major rescue operation would be complete without a little competition. And between life-saving efforts, Barbie still somehow finds time to race Teresa through the countryside. Because even while coordinating what amounts to a full-scale equestrian disaster response, she remains fully capable of straight-up embarrassing her friends in organized sport. With the forest slowly reclaimed, Barbie rides onward into the snowy mountains, where the rescue effort grows even more dangerous. The terrain becomes icy and unforgiving. Unstable bridges force her to guide her horse carefully across narrow crossings, and giant snowballs thunder down the slopes as if nature itself has actively begun resisting Barbie's progress. Even so, she continues the work, rescuing foals one by one, unlocking frozen gates, crossing dangerous ledges, and navigating the crystal caverns in search of any horse still lost to the storm. Here, Barbie is tested by nearly every force Silver Valley can throw at her. Slippery hills limit her speed, cave systems twist the trails into narrow passageways, and frightened foals must once again be coaxed to safety while Barbie balances the emotional well-being of her own horse through constant care and attention. But none of this is enough to stop her, and she reaches the summit to secure another missing horse with her lasso. Christy then challenges Barbie to another race, perhaps believing that the frozen mountain terrain will somehow level the playing field. It does not. Barbie wins again, then immediately returns to her own work, because the burden of greatness rarely leaves much time for celebration. From the snow-covered mountains, Barbie descends towards the shoreline, where the final act of the rescue unfolds across beaches, piers, caves, harbors, islands, and a lighthouse. Here, the obstacles shift once more. Turtles, walruses, and seals all threaten to scare away either Barbie's horse or the stranded foals that she's trying to save, while rafts, locked gates, suspended walkways, and coastal grottos force her to constantly adapt to the terrain around her. At one point, Barbie even has to stop a carousel in order to rescue a trapped foal, because by now, the valley itself has seemingly run out of normal ways to inconvenience her. Still, she perseveres. One by one, Barbie clears the shoreline, guiding foals back to safety, uncovering hidden paths through the harbor, and crossing the final stretches of beach and cliffside in pursuit of the last missing horses. Mrs. Hepburn herself eventually races Barbie along the coast, only to learn what everyone else by now should already know. There is simply no defeating Barbie. She's a gosh dang machine. Finally, after tracing every path Silver Valley has left open to her, Barbie finds the final missing horse and completes the rescue. Every foal has been recovered. Every coin has been collected. Thanks, Creighton. Every wandering horse has been brought home. The crisis that began with a single storm has finally been brought to an end. Not by luck, nor by chance, but by Barbie's unshattering will to once again shoulder the impossible and look fantastic while doing it. With the horses returned and Silver Valley restored, Barbie unlocks the Gardens as a reward for her efforts, a peaceful space earned only after crossing forests, mountains, and shorelines in service of the greater equestrian good. So, after guiding the lost to safety, reclaiming an entire region one trail at a time, and proving herself to be the single most effective horse-based response unit Silver Valley has ever known, Barbie once again rides on to whatever challenge awaits her next. We later find Barbie and Teresa once again as they arrive at Robert's Stables on the island of Equestria for what should be a relaxing summer at a riding camp. However, we all know better by now, and Mrs. Roberts greets them, explaining that a recent storm has left the camp in rough shape, damaging the grounds and throwing much of the island into disarray. Still, the show must go on, and Barbie, as always, takes this not as a warning, but as a calling. After meeting Kyle, one of the stable hands, Barbie is first tasked with getting settled in. This includes heading to the bunkhouse to change into proper riding clothes, selecting a horse from the stables, and reporting to Jenna at the paddock for her first lesson. There, Barbie begins with the fundamentals, riding point to point around the practice ring before quickly proving that this is all old hat for her. From there, her training expands into the full scope of horse care, as Kyle teaches her how to groom, feed, water, and clean her horse's hooves. In other words, before Barbie is allowed to save the island, she must first prove her mastery of the basics of horse maintenance. With her training complete, Barbie is given her first official camp challenge, a timed race around Robert's stables. She wins her first ribbon with ease, establishing almost immediately that she's not merely attending this camp, she's about to redefine it. Shortly after, Teresa asks Barbie to help collect seashells from the beach so they can decorate the hall for graduation day, marking the beginning of what will become one of Barbie's greatest challenges yet. Not just mastering horsemanship, but personally rebuilding the island's post-storm infrastructure. As Barbie explores more of Equestria, she makes her way to the racetrack, where Jake Lockwood tells her that the storm has left the children's course covered in debris. Barbie clears the track herself, then places flags to lay out a proper race course before riding it successfully. Elsewhere, she helps Jonathan Hollis recover his lost model ship from the shore, returns scattered buoys to the correct cabins along the beach, and gathers the rope, screwdriver, and gasoline needed to help an old fisherman get his boat working again. Teresa then ropes Barbie into repainting the fishing village cabins, because at this point, the entire island has apparently decided that if something needs to get done, it's Barbie's responsibility. Back at the racetrack, Barbie earns her second ribbon by completing an obstacle challenge, further proving that her arrival at camp is rapidly becoming one of the most important events in equestrian history. As she progresses, she's soon trusted with a new horse and sent towards the old riding house to begin training in show jumping. But before that can happen, Barbie discovers a message in a bottle written years ago by Hannah Roberts, Mrs. Roberts' great aunt, who feared that she would never return to the island when she left for Europe. The note reveals that Hannah hid her jewelry somewhere on Equestria, and that the key was given to her best friend. That's right, this is somehow an archaeological mystery now. Even with this new mystery hanging over the island, Barbie still finds time to help Kyle recover 3 missing horses from the paddock by placing GPS transmitters on them. At the riding house, Melanie explains that the storm has left the jumping course in shambles, so Barbie once again helps replant fence posts and reattach the rails herself before practicing the course. However, just as she nears her next challenge, Mrs. Weatherby reveals that her kitten, Gordon, has gone missing in the storm. Barbie finds the frightened cat hiding up a tree, returns him safely, and then completes her jumping test, earning her 3rd ribbon. From there, Barbie's responsibilities only continue to grow. While exploring near the watchtower, she helps Felicity Jones get medicine from her grandmother, refills empty bird feeders after the storm, gathers hibiscus leaves to make tea, and ultimately climbs to the old watchtower itself to turn on the light so Felicity's father can safely navigate his fishing boat back to the shore before the weather worsens. Her training continues as Rachel introduces Barbie to the roads and tracks discipline. After testing herself on the watchtower course, Barbie earns her 4th ribbon, putting her one step away from total dominance over every equestrian discipline the camp has to offer. In the background, however, Hannah Roberts' mystery still lingers, and when Mrs. Roberts eventually finds Hannah's old diary among her belongings, Barbie is given a new lead. The diary mentions a message in a bottle, a rainbow waterfall, a cave painting, and a best friend named Letitia Hollis. Following these clues, Barbie locates the cave near Rainbow Waterfall, where Hannah had painted an image of herself beside an ancient oak, with a heart-shaped hole hidden in its trunk. Soon after, Barbie helps Amanda by retrieving pliers from the stable so a nail can be removed from her horse's hoof, and in return, Amanda reveals that the Hollis family has lived on the island for generations, and that Letitia Hollis was one of her ancestors. Furthermore, Amanda happens to have a heart-shaped rock that she keeps as a good luck charm. Barbie borrows it, brings it to the ancient oak, and uses it to open a hidden compartment inside the tree. There, she finally discovers Hannah Roberts' lost necklace, solving a mystery that had remained buried on the island for generations. Mrs. Roberts is overwhelmed to see the necklace returned, and in gratitude, gives Barbie a scrapbook to fill with memories of her time at camp. Of course, the island isn't done asking things of her. As graduation day approaches, Barbie helps gather carrots for the horses, flowers to decorate the steeplechase course, raspberries for the graduation day cake, and blackberries for the girls at the bunkhouse. At the same time, Emily Woods begins training Barbie in steeplechase and cross-country riding. After first clearing bird nests from the course so the event can begin, Barbie practices the steeplechase, then finally takes on the full cross-country ribbon challenge, where, of course, Barbie succeeds. With that, she earns the cross-country ribbon, becoming the first camper ever to win all 5 ribbons on her first visit. At last, Barbie's summer at riding camp comes to a close. Having restored storm-damaged tracks, rebuilt jumps, rescued animals, recovered lost property, solved a generational family mystery, assisted the sick and elderly, supplied food for both horses and humans, and mastered every single riding discipline the camp could throw at her, Barbie heads to the mansion for the graduation celebration. There, she and Teresa look through the scrapbook that she's assembled over the course of the summer, reflecting on everything that they've seen and accomplished together. And so, after yet another journey, Barbie rides on once again, having left Equestria far better than she found it. It's at this point that we reach the end of the Barbie Horse Adventures series. In August of 2025, the entire gaming community's collective heart skipped a beat when Barbie Horse Trails was announced. What we all hoped would be a resurrection of the beloved Horse Adventure series turned out to be a blatant disregard of it instead. Barbie Horse Trails gives us an entirely unrelated horse-based tale in the Barbie animated movie universe, focusing on that universe's Barbie, or rather, the pair of friends who share the name Barbie Roberts, one nicknamed Malibu and one nicknamed Brooklyn, both after the cities that they're from. While I know the disappointment is hard to ignore, please just try to push it aside for now, as I have to cover the latest game's story for completion's sake. There are sacrifices that I make for Suggestive Gaming, and please never forget them. Like, comment, and subscribe to appreciate them. This story begins at Starside Lake, where Brooklyn and Malibu arrive at the Canterbury Trails State Park with Malibu's father, documentarian George Roberts, to answer a call for help from Ken's aunt, Lady Carson. The group head to the stables to look for Lady Carson, where they find her in the flesh. She quickly introduces the girls to a pair of horses, Tornado and Pepper. Lady Carson then takes the girls out on a ride with Ranger Quinn, during which Lady Carson finally explains the gravity of the situation. Canterbury Trails has the chance to become an official nature preserve, which would give them a significant amount of funding from the Federal Park Service. However, in order for that to happen, a preserve packet needs to be completed, proving the park's natural splendor, important wildlife, cultural significance, and recreational potential. In other words, what first seemed like a simple trip out into nature has, in classic Barbie fashion, quietly escalated into a full-blown conservation effort with federal implications. With the task ahead of them now clear, Malibu and Brooklyn finish their trail ride with Lady Carson and Ranger Quinn before they return to the stables. There, the girls help care for Pepper and Tornado before being introduced to their new horses, Lucky and Dancer. Shortly after, the pair are brought on by Ranger Annalise as junior rangers in training, giving them the authority to take on official park work. So now, in addition to everything else Barbie has been over the years, we can apparently add a government-adjacent environmental specialist to the list. From there, George lends the girls his camera so they can help document the beauty of Canterbury Trails, giving them the task of getting B-roll of scenic landmarks and locations that might later be used in his documentary. At the same time, the girls start taking on hands-on park duties, marking an unfinished trail so it can safely be used by future visitors, and helping train their new horses for the work ahead. Unfortunately, scenic beauty and well-marked trails alone are not enough to secure Canterbury Trails' future. In order to prove the park's cultural and historic importance, the girls soon become involved in an archaeological effort led by Dr. Potts. What begins as another helpful detour quickly grows into a much larger mystery. The girls literally uncover artifacts that all seem to point towards the legend of the Silver Canyon Mustang, a horse believed to have vanished from the region long ago. Even with this mystery unfolding in the background, the girls continue with official ranger duties, learning more about wildlife photography and spending their time racing from one corner of Canterbury Trails to the next in search of anything that might strengthen the preserve packet. Eventually, the clues surrounding the Silver Canyon Mustang begin to converge. By comparing the imagery of the recovered artifacts, Malibu and Brooklyn realize that the horses they're searching for may not be extinct after all, but hidden somewhere deeper within the park. This revelation pushes the two toward Wildflower Gully, where they follow the trail in hopes of confirming what the artifacts have been suggesting all along. There, they make a discovery that changes everything: an entire surviving herd of the Silver Canyon Mustangs, still alive and still roaming Canterbury Trails. With photographic proof finally in hand, the girls return to Dr. Potts and Ranger Annalise, where they all determine that this discovery is the exact final piece the preserve packet needed. Not only does Canterbury Trails possess incredible scenic beauty, thriving wildlife, and recreational value, but it is also home to a living piece of history once thought extinct. With the packet complete, the girls submit it and wait for the answer that the future of the park balances on. Soon after, confirmation arrives from the Federal Park Service. Thanks to everything Malibu and Brooklyn have accomplished, Canterbury Trails is officially accepted as a nature preserve. The park is saved, the horses are protected, and the work of everyone who fought for its future is finally recognized. In honor of their efforts, Barbie and Barbie are promoted from junior rangers in training to official junior park rangers, formally acknowledging what should have been obvious from the very start. Once Barbie gets involved, success becomes more or less inevitable. From there, the girls bring the good news back to Lady Carson, who is overwhelmed to learn that Canterbury Trails' future is now secure. George, inspired by everything they've accomplished, decides that his documentary should focus not just on the park itself, but on its journey towards preservation, led by the two girls. The trip is then commemorated with one final photo and a scrapbook to remember the entire adventure. And so, after helping protect an entire park, proving its worth to the federal government, uncovering a lost horse lineage, and preserving a place of natural beauty for generations to come, Barbie rides on once again, having not merely visited Canterbury Trails, but ensuring that it endures. And with that, we reach the end of Barbie Horse Adventures, as well as its spiritual successor. Across 5 games and more than 2 decades, Barbie has raced for charity, solved a horse napping conspiracy, rescued an entire valley's worth of missing horses, rebuilt a storm-ravaged island, and personally helped secure federal protection for a state park by uncovering a supposedly extinct horse lineage. And through all of it, one thing has remained clear. Whether she's acting as a rider, a detective, a disaster response unit, a camp legend, or a government-adjacent environmental specialist, Barbie remains one of gaming's most dependable forces for good. So, hopefully this video has helped shine a light on a franchise that, for far too long, has been tragically absent from the larger conversation. And hey, maybe now, when people talk about the defining toy tie-in horse-based action-adventure experiences of the medium, this series will finally get the respect it deserves. It's the least I can do. Hey everybody, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this one. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know down in the comments what other games, series, or apparently forgotten equestrian epics you'd like to see me cover in the future. You can also support the channel over on Patreon or by becoming a channel member here on YouTube to help support more videos like this one. All those beautiful folks on screen do it, and y'all are the only reason I can play around and do videos like this one, so thank you all, truly. As always, I've been Suggestive Gaming, and now you're in the know.